This is episode 202 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Nick Van Dyk on the show. That probably sounds familiar because he was on not that long ago. So I had Nick back. In this episode, we were talking about his self-storage endeavors. We did an update on the Florida properties after the hurricane. What are the Airbnb numbers looking like? And then we wrapped up today's discussion with a talk about our mastermind. So we're actually hosting a Investing in the US mastermind for Canadians. And that mastermind is focused on, people who have probably been following me or Nick and are interested in the US, but not quite ready to pull the trigger. I've had many people encourage me to do this. A lot of people said, hey, is there any way I could learn? I'd really like to do this. Nick and I were floating this idea back and forth because we're both invested and pretty active in the US, and we finally pulled the trigger on it. The more specific details are below if you'd like to check out the details, book your ticket to attend. There are limited seats, so definitely don't waste any time if it's something that's important to you and you want to make sure that you can get in the room with the people that will be at this event and learn the specific nuts and bolts of US investing. So without too much further ado, I do want to just quickly ask you, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a 5-star rating and review. And if you are watching on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the episode. Thanks so much. Let's jump into episode 202 with Nick Van Dyk. Welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I've got Nick Van Dyk back on the show. Hasn't been that long, but Nick, thanks for coming back over.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So Nick, we're going to go over a few things. You and I, full disclosure to everyone watching, we're doing a couple of things together, including hosting a mastermind. So Nick is also doing some stuff on the investing side that we didn't get into on the last episode very deeply, mainly with what you're doing with development and self-storage. Yep. But for those who didn't see the previous episode, just recap us, Nick. Tell us a little bit about your story real quick.
Yeah, so short of it, my name's Nick Van Dyk. Real estate investor, started in the multifamily space, duplex conversions, multifamily, did some flips, Airbnbs.
Like Brantford area, right?
Yeah, mainly Brantford area. We started with some duplex conversions, flips, assignments, did some wholesales, and just one thing led to another.
And I think you said it was, what, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? You read that?
Yep, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Was it your dad that gave it?
Yeah, my dad gave me that book.
See, that's the rare story. No one says that kind of thing.
Yeah, a little ironic, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, growing up, we've been pretty entrepreneurial family.
So your dad was the rich dad out of the story.
Some days, I guess.
Educationally.
Yeah, exactly. So no, he knew there was a different way and just a different way of thinking, and I fed from that, and then I got into the real estate, and here we are.
That's super critical.
Yep.
What have you been working on lately?
So, as you're aware, you and I have talked a little bit off of this, but we got some properties in Florida.
Yeah. So Nick and I both invest in Cape Coral, Florida. I think that, I don't know if that happened fully organically. We were talking a bunch about it. I went down there, and then you were like right there behind me.
Yeah, I think I was already there. Well, yeah, you were already doing
I was
stuff.
land owning, but you actually had houses.
Yeah.
Now I have houses. They're almost done.
After Hurricane E.
After they withstood the hurricane. So if you're in the market for a hurricane resistant house, I have a few that are going to be going up for sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there we go. It's a good sales pitch.
There you go. Yeah. No, I'm fortunate too. Like our houses, like if anyone who knows about the hurricane, it was supposed to go up and turn into Tampa, but it took a hard right, I guess it would be.
Hard right into Cape Coral, yeah. So that happened since our last interview, the hurricane. Yep. So for ours, like we had floodwater come up, but it didn't hit the building. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, pretty well. Like we had it maybe right up to the door or into the garage a little bit. I remember one of our neighbors was texting me during the hurricane. He was saying there's literally a porta potty floating past your house. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, the videos of that were insane.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously neither of us were down there, but fortunately.
Yeah. No, fortunately everything,
So you're all good.
Minimal damage, trees down.
So did it hurt your Airbnb superhost status? Like, did you have to cancel some people, or Airbnb was forgiving of the hurricane?
Yeah, a lot of people. Some of the people that were like going to be going in that week, they basically just canceled. For obvious reasons. So but no, everything now it's back up and running and moving forward. So
how's that handled? Like, did you just refund their deposits because of the situation, or do you?
Yeah, well, I think through Airbnb, I don't even know if they didn't even pay yet, to be honest, or like because they were some of the bookings we had were pretty last minute. So
okay.
But yeah, I think there was basically Airbnb has different cancellation policies or whatever. So ours, I don't know, given there's a hurricane.
They're going to be understanding.
You know,
that's the thing, like with the super hosting, and I'm still new to Airbnb because I don't manage ours for the campground. Like I'm in there. I'm one of the guys that has access to it, and I sometimes respond to people, but I don't know fully how it works. All I know is that if you cancel somebody, you lose your super host.
Yeah, I don't know. We just leverage Airbnb and VRBO. I don't know the
Oh, you use
detailed.
both?
Yeah. Well, it's just a little bit more.
Do they communicate with each other? Do you have them directly linking?
Kind of. Like my wife does majority of that. Yeah. But nonetheless, like I think she prefers using Airbnb. It's just a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
But so I think she will charge a little bit more on Airbnb on VRBO.
It's pretty expensive on VRBO.
Yeah.
Oh, just because it's harder to work with.
Well, yeah. So it's like we just charge more. So if somebody wants to book through that, then sure. Yeah. But if not, then majority of it's through Airbnb.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at like what we pay Airbnb, it's like several $100s on like bigger bookings.
Oh, yeah.
They get a lot of money.
Yeah.
So this is why it's great if you can, do stuff outside the platform, but then also there's the accountability on Airbnb, which I like.
Yeah. If it's, a reoccurring guest or something.
Recurring guests that you knew you had a good experience with.
We have our cottage on Airbnb. So like someone will rent it in the summer. They were good. They're like, hey, we want to rebook it next year.
Yeah.
And bonus.
That cottage is Northern Ontario, or whereabouts in Ontario is that?
It's big town of Restoule. It's just south of Lake Nipissing. So
Restoule. That sounds really familiar. I feel like
it's on Commanda Lake, so it's nice. It's a bit of a hike to get up there, but
yeah, like what, 5 hours up?
Yeah, well, from here it's probably like 4.
4, okay.
But 5 hours from my house. So.
Nice. So you got properties everywhere.
Yep, pretty much.
And then so these developments now. So in addition to the vacation rentals in Florida, Cape Coral, before we jump off of that, is that where you would plan to grow further? I mean, I know why I picked Cape Coral, but for anybody else who hasn't already gone there because they've heard me talk about it, why do you like Cape Coral?
Yeah, I think the big reason why we picked Cape Coral, after evaluating pretty much all the other markets in Florida, was just like our dollar went a little further, right? Yeah. Like Naples is expensive, but it's beautiful. Everywhere's beautiful in Florida, but when you're buying or doing investing and stuff, you're trying to look for something where your dollar goes a little further. So
and I
a
heard,
little bit more economical.
Like many people they started up in Tampa. They're like, hey, we like what you're doing in Florida. We're looking in Tampa. I'm like, you'll be back. Yeah. You'll be back when you find out.
Plus, there's like every county has different rules for like short-term rentals. Where Cape Coral, it's like.
It's kind of the Wild West. They do actually technically have a rule. I think it's supposed to be a week-long minimum.
Yeah.
But I think just generally people do whatever they want.
Pretty much. So. I mean, most people want week stays anyways. So
as an owner, you almost prefer it.
Yeah.
I remember looking in Fort Myers Beach, which like almost doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's still there, but they have like a couple of blocks that are minimum 1 week, a couple of blocks that are minimum 1 month, and then a couple of blocks that you could do nightly.
Yeah. No, like we do weekly. Well, obviously it's per night, but if somebody wants to rent it for a month, then it's better for the owner. Easier for management, right?
What do you think is first off, like loosely, can you get into numbers? I know the hurricane kind of messed everything up. Can you give me a loose idea of price point of the purchase? Approximately what those are going to earn in a year based on what you can see. I mean, obviously hurricane changed everything.
Yeah. No. So essentially the short of it, we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, pool, nice subdivision, good part of Cape Coral.
Not on a canal though.
No, like there's canals everywhere. So there's a canal across across the houses across the road. But, so gross income, we're probably, my target is, to be very conservative, is around that 65 mark, gross. But some months like February, March, April, the high season, it's, we can get a little bit more. So it could even be upwards to like 70, even 75, 80, like who knows?
You think you could do 75 or 80?
It'll be like, this year's going to be more or less our first run at it. Like we're almost I think come May will be our
1 year.
1 year.
Like that from when you launched on Airbnb.
Then there's throw the hurricane in there.
So you launched on Airbnb into a market where, I mean, you're in the summer, which is traditionally like low season.
But in the summer we did actually all right. Like it was consistently booked. The months that were a little iffy were if I remember correctly, I want to say September, October. We're a little slower.
So what's a slow month look like down there? This episode is brought to you by Control and Compound Financial. They teach real estate investors how to multiply their wealth using infinite banking strategies. For a complimentary wealth coaching session or to learn more, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Real estate values and interest rates are changing quickly, and huge opportunities are opening up in the marketplace. But to take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to need real estate experts on your team. That's why I've brought my first sponsor on the show, Jacob Campanero with Royal LePage Signature. Jacob is an expert commercial multifamily realtor, and he's also the resident realtor on my new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat, which is available on YouTube. If you're looking to add a quality piece to your real estate power team, Jacob and his team are there to help. To book a consultation with a member of his team, fill out the form available through the link in the show notes on this episode, and a member of his team will be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode.
Probably like $3,000.
$3,000.
Yeah.
And then a busy month you haven't really seen yet.
Well, no, like I think on a consistent basis, like in the summertime, like based on what I know now from the summertime, and then now ramping up into the high season, like you're getting cold everywhere else, so people want to go. You know, we're getting anywhere from 5 to 8
right now
a month. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. And most days are a week or?
Yeah, for the most part. Like we thought because of the hurricane, we had someone stay about a month and a half. Just because like they were
their
down,
place was gone.
Yeah,
that's all right. You still make full pop on that though? Probably.
Yeah, we gave a little bit of a discount just because it's easier to manage.
Big long stay.
Right?
Yeah, so, the big long stays
but then
are nice.
We'll charge a little bit more for cleaning fee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the nice thing is like you're only cleaning it once. Sorry, so they have to clean it in between.
Yeah, like we've offered to send our cleaner in, but like some people they just don't want.
Yeah, they don't want somebody in their space. They should be able to clean their own. Like they're not really vacationers, right?
No.
Okay, so let's say like you average. I mean, when you see February, if you're already getting into the 7 territory, I feel like February should hit like 10 for you.
Oh yeah, at least.
Like February and March, like 10 each.
Like you can go on Airbnb and you can select your monthly stays, right? So, like we'll be in February, March. Like it should be at least 10, if not closer to 15, I would say.
Yeah, I could see that totally. So say on the year you average, do you think you'll average $8,000 per month on average?
7 to 8, I would say.
Yeah,
maybe
across the year.
But
let's say hypothetically you did an 8. That'd be 96 on the year. Yeah. That's a lot.
Which that's
where a really
like,
good year. So maybe it's 7. Yeah.
That's where I'm like, you know what? I'd rather err on the side of caution.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you do 7. I mean, we could be completely wrong about this.
Yeah.
But it's just based on the signs you're telling me, because I've heard other people tell me, oh, like in the summer, what they used to do, especially like I heard the story in Fort Myers Beach, is they would just rent to like monthly tenants, like not even vacationers, just people who wanted a place to stay in a furnished rental, make $1,000 a month or something like that in the summer. Like that's, but they were probably about smaller units. Like,
yeah, like our summer when we were like May, June, July, August. They did well. Like they were booked. Like I wouldn't say they weren't.
So I've heard
February.
July is typically good because of the holiday.
Yes.
But
you got different events and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that the summer's bumping was so hot down there.
Well, we went down. My wife's birthday is Independence Day, July 4th. So we went down there in July, and honestly, people are like, yeah, it's hot, but like, why do you go to Florida?
Yeah.
Typically, you want to enjoy the weather. Like, sure, it's warm everywhere else, but it's nice, it's hot, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't nearly as busy. So all of these restaurants or the beach, whatever you want to go to, you can get there a lot faster.
Yeah, it's about to. I mean, some people say like the nicest weather, like the weather they like the most is getting into the early summer down there.
It's weird though. Like you look on your left and it's nice blue, beautiful skies. And you look on your right and it's black. So
yeah, you get a storm every day, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so taxes on that place, what are they approximately?
I'd say around 5.
Oh, they're really that much?
Yeah. Well, because like if you're in Cape Coral, I'm sure you know about the homestead and the discount and stuff like that. Like if you're a resident of
Cape Coral, you pay less.
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten into that because I'm still building. We're going to get there. I'm still assessed at like a number that my taxes are $400.
Yeah.
Well, but that's about to change, obviously.
It will.
Yeah. Insurance wise, what are you paying and what does that give you?
So we're both in like the flood area.
Okay.
So, which is ironic because here we're in the flood zone, but during the hurricane we never got flooded. So
yeah.
When you would have thought you would have.
Well, it's a lot about the wind patterns and stuff. Yeah. Like, things It may be under different circumstances it would have flooded. Maybe even a lesser hurricane could have flooded it.
True. But nonetheless, we fortunately did good. But no, our insurance, so yeah, like obviously you have there's basically two policies. One is more your flood insurance, and then the other policies like your just house insurance.
Okay, so two separate independent policies.
Pretty much.
Really?
We have, so one house we were able to grandfather and get a cheaper flood insurance.
Okay.
The other house is substantially higher.
Yeah. So is this the other house that's substantially higher?
Whatever one you want to use.
Okay, let's use the higher numbers. Yeah, both of your houses are about the same, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Very similar.
Okay, so what's the more expensive?
Yeah, they could be like you could get flood insurance anywhere from like $4,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, it's wild. Let's go on the high side, $8,000. Yeah, I think Paula, I was talking to her, Paula McFarland, and she said $9,000 they were paying.
There you go. So
yeah, probably a little bit. I think
ours
place.
is less, to be honest, but yeah, you can.
And you don't need the flood insurance, right? Like my new places are actually built out of the floodplain. They're actually elevated up.
I think it depends on your lender. Like our one lender, we have our long-term foreign international loan. They required it. Mm-hmm. Our other lender is private, so
yeah, like a private individual.
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
A broker.
Oh, just broker. Okay, that's great.
Yep. We bought both our houses with private just to close fast. So.
And you used a broker out of Florida?
Yep.
Okay. We'll have to share that contact afterwards.
Yep.
Okay, so maintenance. What do you do? Like, I mean, obviously you have consumables and such. So what are you into approximately for maintenance? Like I'd put 5%, but that's $4,200 on the year.
Yeah. Well, we renovated both properties, so our maintenance is more or less lower than that. But nonetheless, like you still have wear and tear because it's short-term rental.
Yeah, wear and tear, like life cycle. I mean, your air conditioners probably get replaced every 10 years down there.
Yeah.
Like everything wears out. They're running all the time. Yeah.
So like your condensation pump needs to get cleaned on a weekly basis.
So
basis or something like it. Like
the issues in Florida are different. Like your condensation pump, like you can't run it into a drain in Florida because there's so much condensation. They don't want it going into the sewer, so it has to go out the side of your house. It gets clogged up. You got to bring in a shop vac. It's just different.
But then it's so much more enjoyable because like
it's warm.
Palm trees everywhere.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to get back down there. It's got to figure out how to do that with the baby.
Take them.
We did that already once, but he slept more in the car. Yeah. Okay, so obviously maintenance, like I like to build in that life cycle thing. That's why I don't like to drop it below 5%. Obviously, in this year and next year, cash flow is higher. But down the road, it'll be lower. So maybe we'll just treat consumables as under miscellaneous. We'll throw that in there. Okay, so management, what are you paying?
We don't.
Oh, you don't? That's right. Oh, we'll just put a 1% there for your own expenses.
Yep.
And then landscaping and snow? Well, no snow. Landscaping.
No snow in Florida.
Thank goodness.
Landscaping, it's about $100 a month, and pool cleaning is another. I think it's like $90 a month.
Okay, so let's do this. So 1,200 plus 90 times 12, you are going to be $2,280 a year. And any other rentals or other expenses, pest control?
Yeah, it's pretty minute, to be honest. We just do that like on a quarterly basis, but it's I don't know. I think we pay. I have to double check. I want to say like $100, $75.
So I'm gonna every 3 months. Yeah. So I'm gonna say like probably $1,200 on the year for consumables, toilet paper, all that stuff.
Yeah. But then like our cleaning fee covers substantial amount too. Like a lot of the stuff works out in the wash, I think. But
right, which is why I'm not really building in cleaning as a cost here, because I know you're going to generate that as revenue. Right. So we did $7,000 as revenue here, assuming your cleaning fees on top of that.
Yeah, give or take.
Give or take.
Like it's
so we can play with that number a bit. Like oftentimes, especially those who watch REI Hot Seat, you'll see me like highlight something. We'll do some like sensitivity on it
through our like when we do our mastermind. I'm gonna go through a couple case studies with our properties, so it'll be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah, we'll get into further, for more accurate detail. But I like to just do that loose. Let's run through some numbers and see how this works. Right on the show here. Okay, so we are at operating income of $56,800 before mortgage here. So what's the purchase price like on something if you were to buy this again right now? Renovated, what do you think you'd pay?
You'd probably it depends on the area more or less, but you're probably in and around like your mid to high fours, maybe a little under 5.
Okay, so I would say between 475.
Yeah, maybe? You're in and around that.
475, and what kind of financing can somebody expect? Like 75% if they were like a Canadian, say, looking to buy
you're into 70% loan to value.
70%. And 30-year amortization possible?
Sorry?
30-year amortization?
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, like we could look to certain Canadian lenders that may be able to help initially.
Yeah, like RBC TD is pretty good.
Have they helped you out, or you're still private?
Well, the one house is private. The other one we've refinanced into a foreign international loan.
Okay, so with a U.S. lender.
Yep.
Okay. And what are you at with that for a percentage rate?
I want to say I double check what I want. It's around 7, so it's gone up a little more than I was hoping, but it's all part of it.
So after all that, 7%. Let's assume. Do you think we still can get 7? We'll have to dig into that a little bit more and get some updated rates, but
that's what we got. So
so that's what you got. So say even that's at 8% now. Being foreign international, they're going to charge a touch more.
Yeah.
That leaves a $2,400 mortgage payment. Everything's US dollars here, obviously. That leaves $2,330 in monthly cash flow.
Yep.
So the trick is, like, you've kind of lumped in cleaning people and handiwork for, like, somebody needs you need somebody to open a door for you. Yeah, or like, meet a contractor.
Honestly, we've been so fortunate with
your neighbor,
like, our neighbors. Oh yeah, like the one neighbor, they put our hurricane shutters up through before the hurricane. And what'd
you guys do for them? You bring a bottle of wine when you were down there?
Well, no. So when we go back, we're gonna get everyone who helped us out, and we're gonna host a nice dinner or take everyone out somewhere or do something, right? Because like you know, here they have hurricane windows, so they don't have to put up hurricane shutters, and here they're putting up hurricane shutters. So
like those your neighbors had hurricane windows,
So
you do want to get the hurricane windows. I mean, like anything new build down there is going to have them.
Well worth
Fortunately, mine have them, so no window damage at all on any of my stuff. Okay, so that's obviously a great thing to have. Okay, so I mean, the return on this, it's tough to know what appreciation is going to happen. Yeah. Florida never exploded. Obviously, with less housing inventory down there, it's almost like prices might even go up a bit. We'll see what happens over time. The interest rate effect is the same down here, down there as it is here, except it's not being felt as dramatically because there are 30-year mortgages down there. People who don't need to sell, don't need to renew, and it has less of an effect. So knowing that, there's obviously a few benefits here to investing in the U.S. and specifically, I think Florida, right?
I think like if you look at the U.S. as a whole, like, and you compare it to Canada, you have way cheaper land value, like overall, and you have way more people. Yeah, that's where I seen like there's
you do have way more, but I see the thing that I see that you just have to acknowledge is like in Canada, it's like most cities are bankable. Yes. If you're buying one in one of the top, 10 cities, heck, even if you're buying in Simcoe, as we like to talk about.
I'm not from Simcoe,
but like we acknowledge that those cities are real stable. Like you don't really have any real dogs of cities.
No, and like I think the U.S. a lot of their good areas is usually based off of schooling.
Schooling, huge, like literally just being on one side of a major street versus another. The school matters, and that's something Glenn Sutherland talks about. Is like picking an area where you've got good schools around you makes a big difference in the value of your home. I look at, say, a place like Florida, and I'm partial to that. I know you're also invested elsewhere in the U.S., and I like. People love Ron DeSantis. He just got reelected. 4 more years of him. His policies are what have brought so many people migrating to Florida as it is.
Oh, yeah.
And now 4 more years of that is likely in the pipe. So unless he decides to run for president. So
which I've heard. But
I hope he doesn't. I just hope he stays in Florida. Because it's working out well for that economy. Yeah. So obviously those are some of the benefits to that market. Not to say that there aren't others. Other states, what are some other states that you like?
I think a lot of you got Florida, Texas, Arizona's good too. Like a lot of those states,
like landlord friendly, or is
I don't know about Arizona per se, just because like I haven't. Yeah. The only reason I'm saying those states is there's just been so much demand going to them, right?
Yeah.
So
a lot of people want to go there in general, just because of the warm weather. There's a lot of reason to vacation there. The managers for our camp, they go there when they're not working for our camp.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a obviously I've never been there, but it's obviously a lot warmer than here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So, but Texas is another state. I don't know if you want to talk about that. Like we're doing some development down there.
Let's get into that part. So I wanted to dig in on the Cape Coral because now we had some more updated numbers. It's been a few more months. The hurricane's passed. I like the way these numbers are looking.
standing.
The houses are still standing. Like, and the big thing is, like, I had conversations with people. I looked at AirDNA, and these were not the numbers I was getting. So, and I've heard many people say you can't trust AirDNA.
Yeah, honestly, that's where I was going back to before. I'm like, you really don't know unless you don't know
until you try. Yeah, and
right?
you said that last time. At the end of the day, you don't know until you try. And so many people get caught up in the analytics. This is where I think that if you're gonna do vacation rentals, you need to have a really strong plan B.
Yeah,
you got to have it.
Yeah, our plan B, I guess you could say, is, we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a nice area.
That's very bankable for a family.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
See, and I know, like I saw, like, just like, I just looked up rentals, single family rentals, like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. There's like nothing. There's like a handful. Yeah. I mean, because all these houses got destroyed.
And the lady we used for our mortgage broker, who did a lot of our lending or whatever, she was even saying, like, our houses, they can rent for probably $3,500 a month. Just as a long-term.
I think even more.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never worked those numbers. Would it cash flow at that based on what you're paying?
You're probably making a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, that's obviously your plan B. Your plan A is obviously short-term rentals. Which,
that's what I was working at. I mean, before the changes in interest rate, but then rents bumped too. I knew that I'd be a roughly break even if I needed to rent to families, which is pretty good. So, I mean, I was thinking plan A, Airbnb, haven't got there yet. I'm actually going to sell the first couple, but so then plan B was sell, or plan C was just rent it. Rent it regular. Obviously, the cash flow is something I'm after, though. So
obviously,
so find a way to do that. I think Airbnb is a great way to do that. But I mean, heck, if that market works for regular rentals, way less management.
Yeah, but even if you were just to, like, okay, I don't know, you couldn't do short-term rental for 6 months or something.
Yeah,
you rent it out long term, and then you got your friendly landlord
in Florida
rules.
I don't know about kicking people out. I haven't looked into that yet, but but that's obviously something I know for a fact. Ontario. For a fact, if they're not paying, they're out.
Yeah, it's definitely not Ontario.
I just don't know exactly the steps you got to jump through, but from everything I've heard, it's a lot quicker.
Oh
yeah, for sure. Okay, so Nick, let's talk about Texas.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess back up a little bit. When we were in Florida, I met a guy down there who was, using first of all, he did a lot of flips beforehand. Like, he was flipping, like, I don't know, 100 houses a year. Like, and he transitioned into self-storage more for, like, the scalability and profit and, safety as, like, an investment as a whole. So, I got talking to him, getting some ideas and stuff, and I never really considered self-storage, to be honest. But when you really look into it, it's pretty lucrative, to say the least. So, anyways, I ended up hiring him as a coach and a mentor, all that stuff. He's at the same time was doing self-storage, so self-storage and stuff like that's been top of mind. But we looked into it, evaluated all that stuff. He has about 9 or 10 sites on the go. He had another opportunity come up, and at the same time, I was like, okay, I want to do something bigger. I want to do something scalable, and obviously get more profit, all that stuff for us, our investors, and so on. So we basically just took that opportunity and went full tilt. So it's we're developing a 100,000 square foot self-storage facility in Houston, Texas.
That's crazy.
Class A. It's all one level. And we're doing it through a syndication, which obviously isn't very common in Canada.
Syndication meaning like share sale?
Yeah, like it's essentially like your GP,
one corporation, or is it a GPLP?
Well, GPLP structure. Yeah. We're raising money, and we're paying a return, and then all of our LP investors get a piece of the pie, and so like. The whole self-storage thing, like, I don't know where you want to go with this. Like,
let's start at concept.
Sure.
Why self-storage makes so much sense.
Yeah. So what I seen is why it made a lot of sense was more the investment side of things into the whole industry. Like, if you look at self-storage, the industry alone, it's just been a constant increase for the last 40 years. Like, there hasn't been any dip. So, like, when you're looking at, like, when you're talking about hedging your investments. Yeah. During a good economy or bad economy, self-storage almost thrives in it because
it's almost recession proof. We don't want to say that.
Yeah,
we're not making that statement.
Recession resistant.
It's recession resistant. I mean, if you think logically, people downsizing, hey, we want a cheaper rent. We're going to go to a smaller place. I guess we'll just store the extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing happens. Or even while they're moving, they need a place for 4 months or 2 months.
But it's not even just people in general. Like obviously that's a big chunk of it. But you have businesses, you have contractors.
Businesses shut down. They have to store their stuff. families move in with each other. One family stores their stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So during a downturn or, a recession, whatever, self-storage thrives. And then during a good economy, when people are making money and spending money, they're buying more products, they're buying more stuff, which ultimately end up in storage anyway.
Storage. Yeah, that I love. And this is why, like I said before, I originally invested in student rentals, just because people go to school whether times are good or bad. If I can't get a job, I go back to school and get educated.
Yeah. So that was like the big reason. Plus, when you have a residential property or student rental, like your tenant class is essentially one person or one type, versus self-storage, you have, you have students,
classes, you have many classes.
Yeah, you have, doctors, lawyers, general contractors, business owners, you name it.
I'm assuming it's the same thing. Basic contract, you don't pay, you got like X number of days to come get it, or your stuff's out on the curb.
Yeah, if you don't pay, you literally lock the door.
Lock the door, and then stuff's ours.
And then, which most people are like, well, I want my stuff back. Well, it's like, all right, well, pay. You get your stuff, and then you can leave. So it's, I don't know. And you compare it to like residential or like, our lovely landlord rules in Ontario.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's light bulbs going off in my head where I'm like,
this
makes perfect sense.
I love that. I want to, we should do just like a little powwow one day. Just like, what are all the industries that are like a negative correlation to the economy? So the economy does worse, that industry does better. Let's buy into those.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. So that was a big reason why we got into the self-storage stuff. Plus, at the same time, like I was, we bought obviously a bunch of multifamily properties, and then we were in Edmonton. We bought a building out there. But like, multifamily as a whole is pretty, depending on the market, and obviously you can still get opportunities everywhere, but like, it was saturated, and I was looking for something that I can scale, I can grow, and at the same time, it's good in any economy. So
I like that. You don't seem to be afraid, and I've pointed this out last time. Like, you'll go to wherever the market is. Yeah. Well, and there's so many people that are like, no, this is my hometown. This is where I invest, and I don't like to argue with that sentiment because you can find deals anywhere.
Yeah, you just got to learn it.
But
right?
how hard do you have to work to find that deal?
It goes back to like, it might sound corny, but like fear.
Yeah.
Right. Like false evidence appearing real. So like, if you just have a lack of knowledge in something, it's obviously going to be scary or daunting. But as soon as you learn about it, no problem. All that fear goes away. So,
well, I mean,
not all of it.
Not all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. If fear was associated with an investment, it would mostly be associated with how much time is this going to take?
Yeah.
How much of my time might this bloat to?
Absolutely.
And if I don't know a market, and I look at the daunting task of now I need to go meet people and learn that market, that's usually what would slow me down.
Which is why I hired a coach.
Yeah. Because then they can slide you into the door.
Yeah, I've reinvented the wheel multiple times. Why bother do it again?
Like, I spent you know this well. I was down there for 3.5 months in Florida. Like, before I made a move, it was probably the 3-month mark that I made a move. Going to real estate meetups, talking to people, networking, driving around. Like, it takes time to really.
I didn't even know I was going to buy a house in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, you just heard me talking about it.
Exactly. It's got to be good. So.
Yeah, you came to that meetup that one time. Was that last year?
Yeah.
When was that? That was like back when I was down there for the long time. You came down.
Like April? No, we came home in April.
That's right. Yeah, we were both down there at the same time for a while there. Great way to get a lay of the land is just spend some time there.
Yeah, going back to the self-storage stuff. So like I hired a coach. He has 9-10 sites on the go right now, all across the US, and a bunch of them are in Texas. So I'm like, he had another opportunity. I'm like, well, why not take this opportunity? Essentially, we bought this deal from them.
Yeah.
But then I brought him on as a partner to basically not steal, but leverage his, resources, his contacts, lenders, contractors, you name it, and then basically just go full tilt. So basically we're leveraging him to develop it.
And it's not cheap to pay for the coaching, right? I don't know if you want to share that now.
It's a small investment, obviously.
It's an investment, right?
But at the same time, it's, he almost basically, you're turning decades into days, essentially, right? So
why do it? Why do it yourself? I coming from the contracting business, when I went to Florida, I'm like, I just cannot be a GC in Florida too. So for me, it was worth partnering with Dave, who I partnered with on the first one.
Well, for example, your Florida house or any build you do here, like, do you hang your own drywall?
No, I don't. I hire people.
Right.
But what
it's
I'm
the same
saying
concept. It's just,
but even
it's just
to be a
different.
GC and quarterback it all is a lot of work too.
Absolutely.
Right. So down there, I did not want to do that. But for me, the big thing was, how do you trust a GC?
Yeah.
So I found Dave attached to the RIA, 10 plus year reputation there, and he's got the connection. So sure, I give up half the profit on a deal, but now I got a foot in the door with a contractor that I know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And that's huge, right? So it was worth me paying, I didn't need to partner, but I did, it cost me like 30, 40 grand, but now I win because of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, coaching isn't cheap, but at the same time, it's hard to really put a value like sure, you pay, 30 grand, 50 grand, sometimes more, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's really hard to put a value on it though, because it's like, how much knowledge are you gaining?
Yeah.
How much, all the contacts, resources, how much faster are you?
Yeah, how much faster
are you getting to where you want? So if you really think about it, I started real estate, I don't know it's probably been 10 years ago. The whole goal was just buy a bunch of properties, rent them out, collect cash flow, have a bunch of tenants pay off your mortgage. And I never once thought I'd be developing a $25 million self-storage facility in a different country. Right?
What percentage ownership will you have ultimately after you bring in the partners? Like, what will you retain?
Yeah, so I think we're going to be in and around that close to 50%.
You and your wife will be close to 50%?
Yeah, well, like our new company, NVDR Developments.
Okay.
So basically, we'll retain about 40 to 50%.
Yeah.
So out of 100%, we're selling out, shares to our investors. So we're raising money, on this deal. It's about 30.1 million US. We're selling out I think we're doing 27 shares, but there's the opportunity if we need to sell more, could go up
down
to
the
30.
road.
So,
and those shares are what, 115 each?
Yeah, on this deal it's 115 US, and then we're paying out a 10% preferred return. And then each share basically represents 1% in the deal. So that's for the LP side, the investors, and then our partner, so my coach, they're getting a slice of the pie, about 13%.
Yeah.
To essentially just hold our hand through it, offer out our contacts, resources,
and that's
all
very
that stuff.
common in the States to bring somebody in that capacity. Yeah.
But then there's the other aspect of it too, is like we need a $10 million construction loan. So
he's going to help you with that.
So they can, or we basically bring in a KP, which is essentially a wealthy American, really, because it's to sign on a $10 million construction loan as a Canadian, it's a little...
Yeah, they're not going to care about you in that scenario. They're going to want somebody like your coach on there, like somebody like that would actually put their name against it. Yeah.
So essentially we bring in someone to basically sign their life away on the line, and then we're essentially the ones developing it though. But that's kind of it goes back to like, you have this big pie. Yeah. And like, if it has enough profit and enough meat on the bone to go around, sure, you can try. Everyone wants the whole pie, but in reality, it's way more like it's difficult to do that. So if you can divvy up the piece of pie where everybody's winning, everybody's making money, but they're also doing stuff and bringing help to the table, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, I like that idea. So what's your time frame like, and where are you at right now? The land is owned by your
so we've closed.
Partnership?
We've closed on the land. We're going through basically finalizing all the drawings and stuff right now.
So all the money to date has really been to buy the land and pay for soft costs.
Yeah, like when we bought this deal from them, it came fortunately with 75% complete drawings.
So this is from your coach you bought it.
Yeah, so we had so basically part of the drawings were completed, geotech, environmentals were done.
So you're still paying for consultants to do a bunch of studies?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So basically, that's another thing we had is like feasibility studies to basically look at a site and say, is it worth it? Is it going to make sense? So.
Okay. Well, yeah, feasibility, obviously you would have looked at that beforehand before buying it. But okay, so you're already at that point. Do you have like sort of the Texas equivalent of site plan approval that yes, you have a permission to build this?
Not yet, but fortunately, they have other sites in Texas, so it's like they already know what they want essentially.
Okay.
So we more or less, we're finalizing all those drawings. We're hopefully to get everything submitted by the end of the year.
And it's dealing with Houston specifically, like their municipality?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then again, like we hired a consultant to more or less look after majority of this. So
okay, so the consultant already knows. Yeah.
And then basically in the new year, hopefully we get approval for everything. And then I think we're hoping to get a shovel in the ground in like March-ish.
Oh, really? That soon?
Yeah.
You're
moving.
Like
it's like Texas as a whole is pretty favorable for building, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so the plan is to basically start construction in March-ish.
Yeah.
March, April, give or take. So, and then from there, it's probably a 10-month build.
That's it?
Yeah. Like there's not much to it.
So the turnaround on this is extremely quick.
Yeah.
Like most people, when you're talking development, you are not talking anywhere near that quick.
No, in our whole, like the whole timeline, we're anticipating it's going to be about 24 months to get it like bought, developed, built, ready to be opened.
And your coach like is on board with that. He says that's doable.
Yeah,
okay.
and to be honest, they're probably more conservative than I am.
Yeah.
But, and then we were basically anticipating another 12 months for stabilizing it, which could be a lot faster. But at the end of the day, we're saying another 12 months to stabilize it, which is basically filling up the units, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the demand is for it, but I mean, you've probably already looked.
Well, through the
that.
feasibility study, there's basically a calculation in each area. Like we look at a 3-mile radius, but in each area, they're like, okay, based off of the demographics, population, income, jobs, and people that are there, and just the overall demand for an area, they'll say, okay, there's X amount of square feet per area. In this area, we're looking in, there's, I think, if I remember correctly, it's about 311,000 square feet of demand, and we're building just under 100,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So essentially, we could build 3 of these sites and still have
so it's
demand.
underserviced for the demand.
Yeah, and they take into account like other people developing, existing sites, you name it.
I feel like James Fernandez also bought some U.S. storage, and I remember him talking about something like that. He picked a really underserved area for storage.
Yeah. Well, like my coach, essentially, he was saying like you can literally like throw a dart at a map and self-storage will work.
Yeah.
But some areas obviously will work better. So
some areas will.
If you're starting with that.
If you're super rural, you'll generally find there is no storage around.
No.
So then just because you're the only option, you'll get some. Yeah, maybe you won't.
Like through the feasibility, we look at a 3-mile radius. So they because not many people want to drive. 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
They want close storage.
They just want to go around the corner and grab their stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
if somebody like wanted to do self-storage, like go down this route and develop it themselves, obviously, getting a coach is going to be the easiest thing. But how do they even start to do that research? Like, can you find these studies publicly, or you actually have to perform them? Like, can you do a search and find out which areas are underserved?
Like you can. Well, there's websites and places where you can go to, but really the main thing is like you can find a certain area, and then after that, it's like, okay, find a piece of land, and you can then just go, send it away for a feasibility study, but you don't really want to spend.
Yeah, you're spending money. So I'm talking like prelim.
I honestly, I think it goes back to like surrounding yourself with people that are in the industry, right? Like, just like if anybody wants to buy a duplex or their first rental property, they're going to start listening to podcasts. They're going to start asking me, whoever, right? So, and then just from there, you're just increasing your knowledge. But I don't know. I've done all that stuff, so I was like, you know what, I want to fast track and. So that's why we hired a coach. I partnered, and I just said, let's go.
Makes sense. Okay, Nick. So I want to take a moment now and talk about the mastermind we're going to host. So anyone listening, watching, this is obviously different. I've never hosted a mastermind. Neither has Nick, I don't believe.
Nope.
So this is something that we've had so many people express interest in what we've been doing in the States. Florida, I get a lot of people mentioning to me, like they want to know. They ask me questions. They drive down there. I know many people who have started investing down there. The challenge is it's mostly just the more experienced investors that are investing down there, well established. There's a lot of people who there's just too many barriers to it. They look at it and they think, but how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Like there's all these things about the process they don't know, from setting up the companies, the tax implications, all that stuff. Yeah. So Nick, you and I were talking, and this idea has been bouncing around for quite some time. And we finally pulled the trigger on it. So we're hosting a mastermind in.
Hey guys, quick correction to this episode, and I've snipped out the old date. The mastermind has been scheduled for March 4th. That's March 4th, 2023. let's get back into it.
By the time this episode launches, that'll be in the show notes. So make sure you check that out if you're interested. But Nick, talk a little bit about what's going to be covered. It's a 1-day thing. What are we covering?
Yeah, like maybe I'll back it up a little bit and just like talk about a mastermind, in general.
Sure,
because
yeah.
like, it sounds, like obviously something that can be, beneficial to people. But like, last year I went to a mastermind, and then I went to another one. Then I hired a coach, and it just goes back to like, why even bother going to a mastermind, and like, what does it do for somebody? So the way I figured it out is like, here I want to grow, I want to scale, I want to, have a better life, make more money, grow wealth, all the stuff that everybody wants. And it's like, but how do you do that? It starts off with, like, my opinion from what I've learned is like, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, putting yourself into rooms where people are already doing it, where you can learn from, where you can leverage, their experience and contact.
Yeah.
So, you can go to a bunch of events and figure it out, but at the same time, like I went to these events and I met people and I met my coach, and that's where, things evolved from there. And it's just like you're surrounding yourself with people that ultimately want to grow versus, and I think it's a little different when you pay for something.
Oh yeah.
Because, you're going to listen more, you're going to hear more information, you're going to be around people who are already, doing things. So there's definitely some perks behind it, but.
And this isn't cheap, full disclosure. Obviously, there's a price to doing this. We are hosting full-day event. We're bringing in speakers, experts in specific fields to try and kind of condense all the nuts and bolts that people need into something that they can take, walk away from a day and say, hey, I know where to start. Doesn't mean that's the last point. There's going to be, follow up there too. So we're going to have a private group for,
like after the event,
for sharing and discussing.
Yeah. And then like, if you have people got questions, you post it, you ask, and then like, either we'll have the answer or we'll find someone else who has the answer.
Yeah.
Contacts.
That's the big thing with the community.
It, right?
So like the big things we've gone through, like I've invested in the States twice, starting in 2012, got out in 2017 and then back in 2020. 3 years I didn't have to file U.S. taxes. So I kind of had a basis. I knew what the implications were of setting up those companies, of, dealing with cross-border accountants. And these are like the huge barriers that people just don't want.
When we started getting into it, like, honestly, I had no idea where to start. Like, I just started calling people, asking questions, and just figuring out.
We were talking too.
Yeah, but it was,
obviously, you ended up, speaking with some very good professionals down there and getting good contacts.
But the work that we had to do to like get those contacts was kind of painful, to be honest. Like, it even started off with just, okay, I'm going to buy it under an LLC. Well, you don't do that. You're just not supposed to. Like,
no, as a Canadian, you don't want to.
No. So like, there's certain legal requirements that you want to do to benefit for taxes. Even the simple point of like opening a bank account. Like, you might think it's simple, but
it isn't.
It's not. So, but and there's some things that you want to do ahead of time, obviously, to prepare yourself. Not only the market, but obviously, like I said, opening up a bank account and legal structure and like taxes and you build your contact list. So, but
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there. So what we're going to be doing, obviously, in this mastermind is it's a 1-day event. We're going to start at 8 a.m. for networking. Presentations and discussions start at 9. We're going to go, it's a full 9 to 5 of, presentations and networking. Then we have a dinner afterwards. Yep. So one day is going to be happening on that Saturday. For those people who have to drive in, we don't want them to have to miss work and other commitments. Obviously, Saturdays are a big deal, but people are going to enjoy their time, and it's going to be one of those really fun things, I think. I'm really looking forward to just connecting with the type of people that are going to be at this.
Yeah.
And so for anyone listening and watching, if you feel like that's you, obviously check out the info. If you got questions for us, where to find us. But we'll make sure we get a contact form there on the website so that you can put your inquiries in as well.
Yep. No, it'll be good. I think the big part obviously is everyone's going to obviously gain knowledge through it. Through not only contacts, but we're going to have some pretty big player for speakers.
Yeah.
Talking, what are we going to talk about? Short-term rentals. You're going to talk about
so
your
in
new
terms of
builds.
specific content, like we already have our loose itinerary for the day up, in our own little collaborative folder. But starting the morning, we're going to get into how to do construction down there, your entire setup, the accountants that we use. We're going to share our contacts. We can't guarantee that our contacts you'll love them, but people we've worked with or we've heard good things about. I've dealt with so many lenders, for instance. Like I could share these lenders, but it's like half of the ones that I've been in touch with, they've let me down. So it was a process of refinement.
Yep.
So we've got some good people in our network. We've got some success stories, and we're continually adding to that.
We both have accountants that we can
both have accountants,
use, and they both know the Canadian and the U.S. side of things.
Lawyers, title companies. It's different down there. You don't need a lawyer to close a property. You can close it through a title company. So I have one that I work with. So these are the type of things, like we're going to get as many of them that we can fit in to speak without detracting. We probably won't have an insurance agent speak. Nick and I will speak loosely on some of these things because an insurance phone call is an insurance phone call.
Exactly.
So we're going to focus on the big important ones, like things like accounting, and then of course concepts, right? Your short-term rentals, your regular rentals, your building construction, and what's needed, how you profit there, parameters, and what type of property values you need to look for, what type of construction costs you need to look for, and so on. And then if you want to expand on what you're going to talk about.
And then basically we'll be talking about, building off that short-term rentals. I'll go through some case studies so people can see legit numbers. Yeah. And then we'll be talking about syndications, self-storage. I'm going to try to get my coach to speak. And then hopefully, talk about some, multifamily. There's just going to be, we could even talk about like mobile home park rentals and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, there's the opportunities are honestly endless in the U.S., in my opinion. So
so a lot of this is going to depend. So we're still early now, who says yes, and the speakers could sub, so we're not going to give any names or anything like that. So it again, the big takeaway here is the focus of the event, what we're doing, and we'll make sure that that's the topic of discussion that day. And you're going to be connecting with people that's what they want to do. So big thing, I think it's really important if you've been sort of on the fence with the U.S. thing and you want to get into it. I think this is a great way. That's obviously why we're hosting the event. So check it out, and we would love to see you there. Nick, anything else we should cover before we wrap up?
No, I think we covered it all. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Nick for doing this again. And we'll see you on the next one.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. There are a lot of people out there talking about the infinite banking strategy and whether or not it makes sense for them. To find out what it's all about and if it's a fit for you, visit controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, where my audience can gain exclusive access to books, podcasts, and webinars tailor-made for real estate investors. Real estate values and interest rates are changing quickly, and huge opportunities are opening up in the marketplace. But to take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to need real estate experts on your team. That's why I've brought my first sponsor on the show, Jacob Campanero with Royal LePage Signature. Jacob is an expert commercial multifamily realtor, and he's also the resident realtor on my new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat, which is available on YouTube. If you're looking to add a quality piece to your real estate power team, Jacob and his team are there to help. To book a consultation with a member of his team, fill out the form available through the link in the show notes on this episode, and a member of his team will be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode.